From the University of North Dakota in Grand Forks, this is Studio One.
Hi everyone and welcome to Studio One. I'm Kari Strandberg.
And I'm Avery Robb.
Today on the show, every zoo has a mission to educate others about animals. We'll meet someone who's using her communication skills to spread wildlife knowledge.
Also, the northern plains used to be filled with feathers, but as settlers moved in, certain species dwindled. Learn how one man is making an effort to save life on the prairie. But first, a state of emergency has been declared across a province in Canada. People living in the Alberta city of Fort McMurray were forced to evacuate their homes due to a wildfire. The fire has destroyed at least 1,600 buildings and torched more than 24,000 acres. Authorities have ordered the evacuation of 88,000 people. The fire is also affecting oil prices in the U.S. The evacuation procedures have led oil producers to shut down or reduce their oil output, which has caused a surge in cost. No deaths or injuries have been reported, and the cause remains unknown. California is raising the age to legally smoke in the state. Governor Jerry Brown signed the legislation that increased the minimum age from 18 to 21. Brown also signed a measure banning the use of electronic cigarettes in places where smoking is also banned. The state will also prohibit the marketing of e-cigarettes to minors. The law goes into effect next month, making California and Hawaii the only state to raise their tobacco age from 18 to 21. Cosmetic methods to get rid of those unwanted wrinkles might be providing more health benefits than you know. Doctors have recently begun using Botox to treat chronic headaches. The age-defying drug works to prevent the release of neurochemicals that allow muscle contractions. The cosmetic injection has been used in recent years to decrease the severity of involuntary facial spasms. While the 31 injections might be expensive, insurance companies are approving coverage for the treatment regularly.
And so usually we like to do at least 2 or 3 rounds of injections first. But my patients keep coming back, and they wouldn't keep coming back if it wasn't working, because it is quite a few injections.
New trials are working to approve the use of Botox for several other ailments. The changing applications are expected to increase over the next 10 years.
Writing proficiency and business go hand in hand, but strong writers are hard to find. A recent report from College Board shows that corporate businesses are spending close to $3.1 billion every year on remedial writing training. Employers are now being proactive during the hiring process by weeding out poor writers. One of the first places writing skills are made evident is within the resume and cover letter. As for existing employees, companies are willing to invest more into training to avoid costly errors in the long run.
On campuses across America, college students are preparing for final exams. Many are referring to old tricks on how to prepare for this stressful time.
Technology is everywhere. In every hand, there is bound to be some sort of device playing a role in every moment. But in the classroom, technology and note-taking doesn't work for every student. Students like Morgan prefer to take notes the old-fashioned way.
It helps me retain the information that's given during lecture.
Many professors have turned to using slideshows to help students write notes, but the effectiveness of bullet point learning is being scrutinized.
Just sitting back and watching the PowerPoint and then downloading that to your computer isn't necessarily active learning.
A recent study from the Association for Psychological Science found that students who type their notes do significantly worse on questions using concept application. Devices are also subject to internet distractions, which can take away from the lectures.
I'll be in the middle of reading and maybe typing up some notes on something, and then bing, I get a message on email or Facebook or whatever, and then all of a sudden my train of thought is interrupted.
Among those discovering this pattern is Morgan, who finds that handwriting her notes is more effective for her learning.
I could remember writing certain things down, and when it came to the test, I could just remember it better.
Morgan is not alone. Many students are more confident in learning with handwritten notes.
If you're taking notes, then you're required to, think through, wait, how am I making sense of this? What did I just hear?
And with finals coming up, it's the notes that make the grade. For Studio One, I'm Jacob Noterman.
Baskier says students who type their notes are also prone to typing everything verbatim, which leads to overinformation. Kari, that's the news for now.
Thanks, Avery. Let's go now to Kaela Lucke for the weather news. Kaela?
Thanks, Kari. Let's take a look at the storms that passed through Washington, D.C. earlier this week. The storms caused strong winds and heavy rain that were responsible for flooding and damage. Many properties were damaged by falling trees and hail. Reports say at least 3,000 customers lost power, some of it due to lightning. And as we take a look at the Capitol, we can see how there is a fantastic lightning show that was occurring. If we see how this low pressure system, or how this storm is formed, it is formed by a low pressure system and the jet stream. Now this low created the storm on the southeast part of the low, creating the DC storm. Now this low is one of two lows in the creating our weather pattern right now, and as we can see with the weather pattern is in the shape of a Greek letter omega, and as we saw a couple of weeks ago, the omega block pattern has returned. If we look at this area over here, we're seeing above average temperatures, and if we look over into the two areas where the lows are, we're having cooler temperatures. Now if we go to the jet stream, we're seeing temperature swings of a lot of degrees. And if we go to Minnesota and North Dakota, we're seeing temperature swings within a day of 40 to 50 degrees. If we go up into parts of Canada, you're having great weather up there and breaking records like crazy. In the Pot, you're seeing at 85 degrees, and you guys will be trying to break that record for the second straight day. If we look back at DC, we can see how all these trees are an essential part to the Streaks landscape. Let's take a look at how to keep these trees in tip-top shape.
Bare branches are about to be budding. Mike Fagazi and the Grand Forks Forestry Department are ready to get their hands dirty.
So generally for the month of May, we're planting trees, and we'll probably, in an average year, we plant about 600 to 700 trees.
New roots will be taking hold, but just like humans, trees can get sick. Dutch elm disease is a common sickness in North Dakota trees. Other diseases include black knot, needle cast, and cytospora canker.
One thing we're kind of on the lookout right now is something called emerald ash borer. It's an insect that affects all the ash trees.
Mike and his team set out traps each June to monitor for the insect.
We don't have it yet in North Dakota or in Grand Forks, but that's something that's kind of on the horizon.
To keep your trees healthy, Mike says to give them a little extra TLC.
Just care for them. You know, if you plant a young tree and it's kind of a dry period, just give it a drink of water once in a while. Keep some mulch around it. Don't hit it with mowers.
Some extra care for your bark and branches could have your neighborhood blooming into a healthy summer. With photography by Taryn Braunberger, I'm Lydia Bloom, reporting for Studio One.
The best way to stop the spread of the disease is to use local firewood when having bonfires. And this brings us to our weather question of the week. What is the biggest temperature change to occur in a city over a 24-hour period? Is that A, 49 degrees, B, 64 degrees, C, 89 degrees, or D, 103 degrees? And here's a hint for you. This happened in 1972 in Loma, Montana. And that answer is 103 degrees. Now this was due to the temperature changes or the fast-moving winds causing in that area. And this same thing occurred in Spearfish, South Dakota, where they saw a 49-degree temperature change in 2 days.
That's quite the change. Thanks, Kaela. Now let's go on over to Avery, who's going to tell us about some prairie chickens. Avery?
That's right. Thanks, Kari. Spring is a time of renewal. The grass turns green again, and some animals migrate back for the summer. One man helps a particular bird feel at home.
Like many others, wildlife biologist Ross Heyer spends some time behind a desk. But this time of year, his job revolves around chickens, and not the kind that likes to cock-a-doodle-doo.
To go out and park in the rural area and turn your vehicle off and step out and hear chickens going, it just feels good because you know that there's still a connectivity to the old years.
An hour and a half before sunup. Today, that's 5 a.m. Ross spends a large amount of time studying the mating practices of prairie chickens and the different grasslands where they reside.
You visit sites where chickens occur, or you sit in the blind. You know, it just fuels your passion for these birds. I mean, they're so remarkable in their courtships in the spring and, you know, their abilities to get up and fly long distances.
Prairie chickens used to be a very abundant bird until their habitats were destroyed by incoming settlers.
If you read the history in the 1800s, they basically fed many, many pioneer families.
Ross says that he talks one-on-one with landowners, explaining to them the importance of conserving their natural grasslands.
So we work pretty hard to keep what we have in good shape and try to secure the rest.
Prairie chickens are lucky to have a caretaker like Ross around to make sure that their habitats stay intact. This is Jake Larson, reporting for Studio One.
Ross says that prairie chickens now have 1/10 of the grassland that they had before European settlement. Kari, I heard 5 a.m. That's way too early for me.
Yeah, I don't think you'd catch me out there either. Thanks, Avery. Many creatures have evolved to survive predators, even those that are predators themselves. Next, we'll meet some African animals and learn about their defense mechanisms.
Closed captioning for Studio One is underwritten in part by NDAD, helping others to help themselves.
For me to go to college, it was a big step knowing that I'm pursuing a better future for myself. When you know that you have a small system there that you can still find comfort in, it really makes a difference. The support here and everything that they offer for us, you know, the tutors, the free meals, the family, the friends, basically just somewhere for you to relax and be comfortable and find that home feeling again.
Yeah, okay, science meets imagination. Life changed by innovation. Through the future of our nation. Engineers the occupation. UND College of Engineering and Mines. Invest in your mind to stay with the times. Formulas, machines, and all that's in between. They teach it all from wall to wall to help you succeed. Come on, it could be electrical, chemical, or civil. Our world-class staff will help you make it all official. Mechanical, petroleum, geology align at the
UND's College of Engineering and Mines.
Okay, become a leader, prove yourself among all your peers. Changing the world begins right here. You're not alone, but in the plan, we'll take your hand and help you stand with mentorship and advising. We'll do all we can. Okay, so if you want to join the party, simply calculate. The math adds up, so never think to hesitate. Education, leadership, and dreams combined at the UND College of Engineering and Mines.
I really love UND.
It's just exactly what I want to be doing, and you know, with this program I get to do it.
It's very tailored to what your interests are and what your future goals are.
By the time I graduate, I'll have a stacked resume.
This grad program has been unbelievable. It has literally been a dream come true.
With more than 120 degree and certificate programs, the UND School of Graduate Studies is your path to success.
Closed captioning for Studio One is supported in part by the Listen Center, enriching the lives of people who have intellectual disabilities with choices in community recreation.
The Red River Zoo in Fargo, North Dakota is home to nearly 90 different species from around the world. 2 of them took a trip to join us in the studio today. Zoo Education Director Erica Prokrym is here to teach us how these animals defend themselves. Thanks for being on the show with us today, Erica.
My pleasure.
So education is a big part of zoos. What exactly do you do to educate people about these animals?
We actually do lots of things at the zoo. The education department is involved with helping develop signage for the zoo, with developing summer camps and other classes at the zoo, also with taking animals off-site like we're doing today, and even choosing crafts and things to do at our special events.
What are some of the best audiences that you've had for these presentations?
That's a really hard choice. We love them all. So, but with small children, typically what we love about them is that they're willing and ready to listen to pretty much anything and everything, and they just get so excited. With older audiences, we love the fact that they ask us really good, thoughtful questions.
So all different kinds of people.
Yes.
So our first animal here, can you tell me a little bit about him?
Yep. So this is a ball python, and they live in Africa. And his cool defensive ability is actually that when he is scared, he can actually curl up in a ball with his head on the inside and protect himself that way. So it makes it a lot harder for anything to get at his head.
And so he doesn't have a name. Why is that?
So at the Red River Zoo, we don't always name our animals. It helps us remind us that they are wild animals and they are not pets.
And also, you don't know if he's a boy or a girl.
That is correct.
What is the reason for that?
So typically with snakes, the body parts for laying eggs are going to take up more space than the other body parts. But with this particular snake, his tail is kind of in between. It's not super skinny, it's not super fat, and we'd have to do an actual medical procedure to figure it out. And since we're not breeding him, there's no point in putting him through all that stress.
So what exactly do you feed this ball python?
So at the zoo, this guy actually gets fed frozen mice, and that's for his health and safety. A lot of times when people think about predator and prey, they're like, oh, the poor bunnies, you know. But it turns out that that relationship is actually a two-way street, that prey animals actually have a lot of defenses of their own. And we wouldn't want him to get his eyes scratched or his fang knocked out by a live mouse.
So what is the process that goes into feeding him then? Like, how does that work?
So at the Red River Zoo, one of the things we do for the safety of this handlers like myself is that the snakes are actually removed from their enclosures and put in a separate, special enclosure that's very different, and they're fed in there, and that way they are not associating like food in their home. And we wiggle a mouse in front of their face, and it's a warmed up mouse from the frozen mouse. So.
You bring him to lots of presentations and that kind of thing. Do you ever have people that are just petrified of him in your audience?
We do occasionally, and we know that if you're scared, if you're in a state of fear, you're not going to learn a whole lot. So oftentimes when we bring a scary animal like this, or like say a tarantula, it's one of the first things we're going to talk about with our audience is the fact that this animal is not going to be dangerous to anyone in the audience, and that they're actually a really cool animal, and then we learn a little about it, and then once you learn about it, they're a lot less scary.
Okay, so can we switch animals then?
Yeah.
So this one, you said he has a few things in common. He's from Africa as well, and he's a predator. Can you tell me a little bit about him?
Yep. So a lot of people think this guy is super cute.
He is.
But it turns out he is a mighty predator. He likes to eat bugs, and he'll even eat baby ball pythons.
Oh.
He also likes fruit.
And so... So he'll eat baby ball pythons. Is that dangerous to have them in the same enclosure, do you think?
But with these guys, that's pretty safe. This guy's not fed snakes on a regular basis, and they're kept in separate enclosures within the thing that we used to carry them around in. So
he's pretty small. Approximately how much does he weigh?
So he weighs, I don't know his exact weight, he's going to weigh about 16 ounces or so, about the same as a can of soup.
And is that as big as they get?
And this is a full-grown adult. Yep, they're small and mighty.
So what are his special adaptations to help him defend himself?
So the most obvious, of course, are those spines you see all over his back. They're not on his belly or on his face. But what he can do is if he feels threatened, he'll actually curl up in a tight little ball and tuck his face in, and he'll just look like a little ball of pins. And those pins, the spines will actually stick straight out too.
What do hedgehogs eat in the wild versus in captivity?
So at the Red River Zoo, this guy is fed mealworms and a special kibble diet, just like similar to what a cat or a dog would eat, and then fresh fruit every day. And in the wild, of course, they eat lots of different things. Like I said, they would also eat snails and slugs and that sort of thing, and even scorpions.
Do they make good pets, or are they better off in a zoo or in the wild?
So both the ball python and the hedgehog that you're seeing today were originally people's pets, and they were unable to take care of them. The thing that people find oftentimes with exotic animals is that they are very hard to take care of. They have lots of special needs, lots of things they need to stay healthy and happy. And most people find that it's really challenging to be able to take care of that animal for the entirety of its lifespan. The snake, for example, can live to be 20 years old. There's even some kinds of parrots that can live to be 80. And so we highly recommend, before anyone gets any pet, to make sure they can give it everything it needs for the entirety of its lifespan.
Do you have a favorite animal at your zoo?
That's a tricky question. We have different animals, the favorites for different things, but overall my favorite is the porcupines.
And what do you like about him, or about them?
They have so many cool adaptations to help keep themselves safe. They're just kind of fun to look at and fun to watch. They kind of waddle when they walk, and they can climb trees even though they look really ungainly. And it's really fun to watch them eat too. They hold their food in their front paws and nibble at it.
So lastly, what's your favorite part of your job?
Oh my goodness. I love the fact that I get to do a whole bunch of different things and talk about lots of different concepts and topics, but it's all for the betterment of our planet.
Great. Thank you so much for being on the show with us today.
You're welcome.
From the Southern California drought to the crisis in Flint, Michigan, water problems have flooded the nation's news feeds. Coming up, see how one woman is teaching younger generations to preserve this natural resource.
Studio One closed captioning is underwritten in part by Options, your disability information source.
not the size of the woman in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the woman.
Really admire the faculty. They're the ones that kind of helped push me through this.
Courses are hands-on and interactive. The communication program has so many different facets to it. One of the great things about the staff in the communication department is that they love what they do. They encourage you to really critically think and analyze everything you're learning. They're so into it, and it makes you want to be into it.
North Dakota is facing challenges in healthcare delivery. The University of North Dakota School of Medicine and Health Sciences is building a place to help meet the state's healthcare needs. In addition to a new structure, we're also building interaction between healthcare professionals while building a workforce through expanding class sizes. We're inspiring our youth to engage in healthcare careers and exploring ways to reduce disease. It starts here and ends here, building a better future for North Dakota.
To have the future you want and a career you'll be proud of, you'll need a great education. The University of North Dakota can get you there with more than 225 degree programs, preparing you for today's fastest growing, high-demand careers, like medicine and health professions, aerospace, business, engineering, and energy. Schedule your campus visit today at und.edu/go, because to succeed, you need to be exceptional.
With the simple turn of a knob, fresh water can easily be available. What many don't realize is the true importance H2O has. After a quick spray from the fire hose, these fourth graders were ready to soak in what they could about the most abundant resource on Earth.
Water sticks to water.
Over the last few days, the North Dakota Water Commission's Tina Harding has been helping hundreds of area students take part in the annual Water Festival.
Not only do they get to come out here and learn about water, but we do it through hands-on activities, so they get to experience it.
Demonstrations by the East Grand Forks Fire Department, Tina's own H2O Olympics, and even samples from the water treatment plant all served as a reminder for the young minds.
A lot of people, I think, they just take it for granted. You know, you just turn on the tap at home and the water comes out, and you don't realize, what it takes to get the water, to that point.
Teaching the more complex drops of science can prove to be an obstacle.
They're fourth grade, students. I think some of it, maybe kind of goes a little over their head when we're getting into the chemistry.
But when something sticks with a student, it's hard not to feel accomplished.
That's the part I like, that aha moment they get when they understand what they just witnessed.
Regardless of age, Tina aims to educate anyone who will stop and listen.
Whether we do it at a fourth grade level or we do it at an adult level, it's just going to make better stewards in the future.
Informing the public about the importance of this resource is similar to the water cycle. Information will rain and evaporate, but the process never stops. In the 2 short days that made up the event, more than 500 students learned about water chemistry, quality, and conservation. That's a lot of students.
Yeah, and it looks like they were learning a lot of things while having fun, so it's great. Thanks, Avery. And that takes us to the end of our last show of the season. We appreciate you for watching.
We've brought you stories of amazing people and issues that matter. We hope you've enjoyed the stories and topics as much as we've enjoyed covering them for you.
Before we close, the UND Television Center director and co-founder of Studio One has the last word.
Every week, I have the honor of standing behind the cameras as students produce Studio One. We've been doing this for nearly 30 years, but now it's time to move on. As a result of state budget cuts, today we fade to black and we won't be back in the fall. Since it began, nearly 900 UND students worked on this program. We've received 718 awards. We distribute Studio One in 5 states, online, and even have a live audience for each production. This is more than a television show. It's a leadership workshop. I'm proud of our students. Their work is not easy, but time and time again, they rise to the occasion. I'm also proud of our staff and faculty who support them. They always go above and beyond to give students a great experience. Studio One is about 4 key values: teamwork, professionalism, communication, and quality. So now it has come to this. It's time to sign off, at least for now. I'm going to end on a personal note. To all the students who came on this journey with us, because of you, we are much better.